So while my images are coming up, I want to thank Thirikun and Rapapat and my esteemed colleagues who spoke before me, and everybody who's involved in this wonderful organization. It occurs to me that we just had lunch, and we've been sitting a long time. So I'm going to ask you if everybody wouldn't mind just standing up. And now what I'd like everybody to do is to find some stretch that your body is asking for at this moment in time. So just let it go, let it loose, and just find some stretch. And once you find that stretch, just hold it on 3. 1, 2, 3. That's fantastic. Okay, now I'd like you to go back and sit down. Hold on, don't worry. Please sit down. And so that was fairly just loose, just telling you stand up and find some stretch and hold a particular position. But now I want you to do the exact same thing. Don't do it yet. I want you to do the exact same thing, but I'm going to count to 8. And by the time I reach 8, I want you to have that stretch position right where you were. Now, you have all of 8 seconds to get there. So if you want to immediately get up and put yourself in that stretch position, fine. If you want to take your time and slowly evolve into that stretch position, by all means do that. Instructions clear? Okay, here we go. So I'll start counting and you start moving. Ready? Begin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and freeze. We could do this all afternoon. It would be great. Okay, relax. And let's do the reverse. So I'll count down. And how much time do I have left? No. And I'm going to count down. And when I reach the number 8, I want you to be sitting. Okay? So get yourselves in that stretch position. In fact, I'll allow you to just take a couple seconds to get in that stretch position. Let it hang out and begin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. If I had all afternoon, one thing that I would have you do is to see if we could all sit down together or stand up together. But I don't have all that afternoon. But what you have just experienced are the 3 elements of dance, which is energy, time, and space. Every single dance, no matter where it is, has those 3 elements. So now I'll begin my talk. So it's similar from Nimrod. I'm really glad that he ended with that wonderful picture from 1980. So we all have transformative. Oh, let me just check with this one. Which way do I go? That one there. Okay. So we all have transformative moments in our lives. The key one for me was at university. I was on my way to be a lawyer, until a friend invited me down to the ceramic studio, where I immediately became hooked. I was a child again. I was playing with mud. Centering clay was a metaphor for my own centering in a confusing time. I shifted from a dispassionate routine to one where I became fully engaged in my own learning. I became researcher, engineer, chemist, historian, colorist, in my quest to devour ceramics and the arts. Over time, the empowerment of my discoveries as artist inspired me to become an educator with the hope of bringing creativity into more classrooms. Over the 35 years I have been in education, I have witnessed the transformation and the power of the arts. So I confess, I come with a bias. I believe the arts are central to transformative learning and can serve as a dynamic source for paradigm shifts in and out of schools. I believe the arts help us shift from a dualistic, linear, and subject-oriented approach to learning to one that is more imaginative, empathic, holistic, and interdisciplinary. I believe, just like Prabhupada said, that there is an artist in every one of us. I titled my talk, The Arts at the Heart of Transformative Learning, because as we know, the arts provide a central system for thinking and feeling. The heart is the source of our survival and our maintenance and our energy. When we say the heart of a society, we are thinking of its cultural vitality and its identity. And of course, as you can see, the last three letters of heart are art. That's a hard one to say. But I recognize that many cultures don't have a word for the arts, and I think many of us in the Western world can learn how to embed the arts more directly. So for this talk, I'm talking about both visual and performing arts, and I'm also talking about aesthetic experiencing in the development of perception. So I will share my perspective on how the arts and aesthetic experiencing lead to a holistic approach in learning and a transformative platform for educators like us. The inspiration from this talk comes from philosophers, educators, and artists who passionately advocate for the arts, the International Society for Arts Education, an organization founded on empowering students in schools with arts throughout the world, and my own witnessing how the arts give life to students, educators, and communities. And as I talk, I invite you to reflect on your own artistic experiences. So let me identify what I believe how the arts cultivate transformative thinking and practice. The first is imagination. Imagination, that delicious stretching of curiosity, the sparks of intuition, that indispensable gift of play that occurs in inquiry and exploration. Transformative learning honors the child in each of us. There's nothing more beautiful than observing a child at play, witnessing, being absorbed, that sense of purpose. There is this wonderful story about a primary school child asked why on a given assignment where it was expected she would color within the contour lines of some holiday, call it Thanksgiving, and she chose to paint outside the lines. And when she was asked by the teacher why she was doing that, she said, outside the lines, that's where all the fun is. She is a transformative thinker. She is thinking outside the box. She is embracing process as well as product. Imagination, as we hear from Ken Robinson, is the primary gift of human consciousness. The artistic experience is a journey where the outcome is not always determined. There is an openness to ideas. Clarity is discovered en route. It's very similar to what Dr. Scheinman says. There is a drive to discovery, create, and invent. In many ways, our societies, our educational systems are in process. We use our imagination to nourish an environment to change paradigms. Yes, on the one hand, the creative process suggests making something new. Yet, as the musician Stephen Nachmanovich and educator Yoshi Nakagawa affirm, making something new in the arts liberates the mind to feel as though that which being discovered, has always been there to begin with. The arts and transformative thinking embrace a new arrangement with time, a different orientation to logical progressions and systemizing. Ideally, we make art in contextual time. Time disappears as there's only the present moment. This is not an excuse to ignore other key moments of life and never look at a clock. My point is that in transformative learning environments, educators courageously commit to reorienting time for authentic learning. It is my contention that the arts help us do this. The second characteristic, I believe, that how the arts cultivate transformative learning is to encounter ambiguity. The arts are a catalyst to explore the unknown with mind, body, and heart. Trusting the creative process involves patience and humility. Educator-philosopher Maxine Greene asserts that the arts defamiliarize the ordinary. Both in transformative learning and the arts, there is dissonance, the healthy struggle in seeking clarity. The arts build clarity for confidence in responding to uncertainty. Art and social democracy educator John Dewey, who happened to be born, raised, and studied in the town that I live in Vermont, USA, says that conscious perception is a risk as it is a venture into the unknown. The arts, like transformative learning, gives us the capacity to move beyond our routines and ruts and explore our voice. Whether interacting with a painting, witnessing a provocative play, making a series of drawings, or playing an instrument, the arts transforms thinking and the evolving nature of process. Here we see a Dutch artist Mondrian's process of his vision turning a tree into a more abstract piece. And I suspect that every innovative and timeless work of art, as well as social movement and educational reform, were created as an exploration into the unknown. Engagements in the arts helps break down the dualism that puts a value on everything, right, wrong, good, bad, successful, or unsuccessful. The anxiety of uncertainty often immobilizes the possibility of a meaningful and long-lasting change. The creative process in the arts makes room for ambiguity, helps students let go, work through, and engage more directly with the transience of life. So, how are we doing for time? Because I just need to... 5 minutes left. We are going to hold off on this exercise, so you'll just have to come to the workshop. Let's see where I'm going to go with this. All right, we're going to go from here. So we're just talking about the sense that in the arts, there's a wonderful, delicious balance between structure and freedom in terms of doing projects. And for Hokusai, it was the 32 views of Mount Fuji. For Monet, it was looking at the color and light of haystacks. So artists in every medium find ways to set a structure to initiate a project, and then throughout the creative process, turn challenges and struggles into possibilities. This will bring me to my third point, which is empathy. The arts move us beyond our lens to express emotions deeper than words can convey. The skill of aesthetic perception, the search for beauty, can lead to an awakening of feelings. As tea master Kaborian remarked, approach a great painting as thou wouldst approach a great prince. And I take this to mean we learn reverence and sensitivity when our aesthetic perception is engaged. To artist Sean McNiff, he states, when our feelings are joyful, the art form uplifts. When our feelings are violent or wrathful, we can transform them into powerful art rather than venting them on the world. Such art helps us accept that aspect of ourselves. Self-acceptance is paramount to compassion for others. As transformative thinkers, we need to be inspired by others and gain experience in generating, assessing, modifying, implementing, and reflecting on ideas. Change requires collaboration. Dialoguing with a character on stage, playing the violin in tune with other string instruments, and communicating openly and honestly in critique reflection about artwork teaches students about care and attentiveness. And I'm going to move on here and just share that the arts historically have acted as a moral guidance for us. Cave drawings, mosaics, fireside dancing and stories, scrolls, and folk tales serve as a mirror on the values and practices of society. To survive, humans have needed to read images, hear stories, and feel a sense of place. Obviously, Picasso's Guernica has told us about social injustice. And, 2 days ago, it was recommended that I visit the Bangkok Art and Cultural Center, and there was a wonderful exhibition there on social justice, and I encourage people to go if they would like to go, can't go. And this is an example from one of my students who was addressing the issues of racial discrimination in the U.S. Okay. So I'm just going to read this quote and go on to my fourth category. So Nabokov says that the contemplation of beauty, whether it be uniquely tinted sunset, a radiant face, or a work of art, makes us glance back unwittingly at our personal past and juxtapose ourselves and our inner being with the utterly unattainable beauty revealed to us. And he suggests that to achieve an awareness of, as well as a path towards educational, social, and environmental transformation, we as educators and community members need to retrieve that awe. One way we do this is to embrace what is my last category, which is holistic learning. Jack Miller, in a recent talk in Korea, recommended us of the importance of the Tao, the way to enlightenment. The way leads us to a deeper engagement so critical for transformative thinking. As Nakagawa reminds us, the way of art is designed to tap a creative force hidden to the deepest layer of consciousness. The creative process embedded in the arts ideally leads to the recreation of self and image of society. Transformative thinking requires both an expansion of what we know from an interdisciplinary and intercultural perspective and the stillness of and commitment towards mindfulness. And as the artist Auguste Rodin reminds us, art is contemplation. It is the pleasure of the mind which searches into nature and which there divines the spirit of which nature herself is animated. So I acknowledge that there are many distractions and fears to bring the arts alive into schools. How do I arrange the room? Because it's messy and people are moving all about. Isn't beauty in the eye of the beholder? And how do I assess art? What about literacy, math, history, and science? There are no quick answers to these concerns. Reorienting, oh yeah, these are, wait a minute. Oh, there we are. Reorienting time and accepting the raised voice and kinesthetic movement of children at work takes time, patience, support. So the following are a few little critical ways that I see how to convert those environments conducive for the arts. And the first is to create a safe space. That's the most important thing in terms of having students take risks. The content will come later. Encouraging questioning, and that's where students learn very quickly that we're all on a discovery. I rarely lecture. I rarely do what I'm doing right now. Throw disclaimers out the window. So I have students write down what their biggest fear is about art. So they could be saying, I can't act, I can't draw worth beans. And we pass them around, we read them all together, we crumble up the piece of paper and we throw them at each other. A reorienting time for play, and this is just recognizing sometime that less is more. Cultivating a child's interest. Each child has a mystery. It's our responsibility to kind of resolve that mystery. To model the joy and passion. Remember that what you teach is so much who you are, and passion is really contagious. And then designing enough activities, like I mentioned, in terms of the balance, that delicious balance between structure and freedom. Nelson Mandela said he wanted to be judged on how many times he fell and picked himself up rather than his many, many accomplishments. So I'm just about done, just to give the timing sense. So I was fortunate to help design and offer a professional development in what 11 years ago was a failing primary school in Burlington, Vermont, and what today has become an arts magnet school called the Integrated Arts Academy. There was tremendous resistance from faculty as they assumed that all art was taken care of down the hall with art specialists. They were scared of changing the paradigm that they knew. And I realized that most importantly, that staff needed to replenish the artist within and learn how to collaborate with the art specialist. And after a tremendous amount of professional development, they were able to assume more responsibility themselves. And now, this failing school has a waiting list to get in. And best of all, that all of the professional development is taken care of by the staff. They don't need me anymore. So in conclusion, the Integrative Arts Academy transformed beyond a stagnant and fragmented paradigm by releasing their imagination, encountering the ambiguity of the unknown, being empathic with each other, and collaborating. And here's some of their examples of them working together and enjoying it, I hope. So we need to cultivate the very human need to express, communicate, wonder, share, critique, affirm, and explore. Uniquely, the arts offer the mind, body, and soul to replenish the child within both student and teacher. Embracing the arts helps transform environments into places conducive for educators like ourselves to think differently about what we teach, how we teach, and what our expectations are for students long after we teach. Thank you.